Our minds are absolutely incredible. But let's be real, they're not perfect. They're always taking these little shortcuts to help us get through the day. And sometimes, well, those shortcuts lead us down the wrong path. These are cognitive biases. And the thing is, they're not bugs we need to squash. They're more like features of our own thinking that we just need to understand and manage. So let's start by mapping out the big ones.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to take a tour of our mind's most common glitches. We'll start with that sneaky comparison trap that just loves to steal our joy. Then we'll look at the pull of the past that keeps us stuck. After that, we'll see how perspective literally shapes our reality, and then we'll uncover the illusions created by the information all around us. And don't worry, we'll wrap it all up by building a toolkit to help you think more clearly.
Okay, so what exactly are cognitive biases? The simplest way to think about them is as your brain's mental shortcuts. See, their whole job is to save us mental energy, but the side effect is that they can pull us away from clear, rational thought, causing us to jump to some pretty flawed conclusions without us even realizing what's happening. Okay, let's dive right in with one of the most powerful and honestly sneaky biases out there. It's one that quietly sabotages our happiness every single day. It's called the contrast effect, and wow, does it mess with how we see value? Okay, let me ask you something. Would you walk 3 minutes to save 100 EGP on a shirt? Yeah, probably. Most of us would. But what if you could save that exact same 100 EGP on a 2 million EGP car? All of a sudden, most people would say, nah, don't bother. But why? Think about it. The money is the same. The effort is the same. The only thing that changed was the comparison.
And that right there is the key. The contrast effect makes us judge things not on their own, not by their actual absolute value, but only by comparing them to something else. Our brain just gets totally fixated on the percentage. I mean, 100 EGP feels like a massive deal next to 150, but it feels like nothing next to 2 million, even though the real value of that 100 EGP, what you can actually do with it, never changes.
And believe me, this isn't just about saving a few bucks. It creeps into every part of our lives, just creating dissatisfaction. You're totally thrilled with your child's 92% score until you hear their cousin got a 98. And boom, just like that, a huge accomplishment feels like a failure. You were so excited about your vacation until you saw friends' pictures from the Maldives. It literally turns life into this constant, unwinnable race of comparison. So what's the fix? How do we deal with this? Well, there's some powerful ancient wisdom on this. The idea isn't to stop comparing. Our brains are wired to do it automatically. The secret is to direct the comparison. This teaching guides us to consciously, intentionally shift our frame of reference downwards when it comes to worldly things. That way, we cultivate gratitude instead of envy. Okay, so this wisdom actually gives us a really practical 3-step game plan. First up, limit your exposure. If certain social media accounts always make you feel like you're not enough, just unfollow them. Number 2, when you just can't avoid comparing, you've got to widen the frame. Force yourself to think about the bigger picture, life, the hereafter, the whole shebang. And third, get busy with something that matters to you. When you're focused on your own purpose, you have way less time to worry about what everyone else is doing. All right, let's move on to our next mental trap. Have you ever found yourself sticking with a really bad decision or a failing project, or maybe even a painful situation simply because you'd already invested so much into it? I mean, it's so common, right? We feel this weird compulsion to keep pouring our time, our money, our energy into something that is clearly not working. It makes no logical sense, but the pull to keep going is so strong. So what is going on there? Why do we do this to ourselves? Well, the answer has a name. It's the sunk cost fallacy. It's basically an emotional trap where our decisions about the future are held hostage by whatever we've already put in. The absolute most important thing to get here is that those past costs, the sunk costs, they're gone. Poof. You can't get them back, whether you quit or keep going. A truly rational decision should only ever be based on what's best from this day forward. And once you see it, you start seeing this fallacy everywhere. Like, you're sitting through a terrible movie just because you paid for the ticket, right? But all you're doing is wasting 2 hours on top of the money you already lost. Or business owners who keep pouring money into a failing company, chasing that initial investment. People stay in broken relationships because of the 10 years we've already spent, completely ignoring what will make them happy in the future.
So, okay, how do we break free from this and how can we help others break free? This piece of history is just fascinating. Abu Sufyan had spent his entire life, his entire identity becoming the leader of Mecca. Walking away from that was a massive sunk cost. The Prophet, with just incredible wisdom, didn't just dismiss all that, he actually honored it. He gave Abu Sufyan's old status a new place in the new order. By acknowledging the past, he made it emotionally possible for him to let go and embrace a totally new future. Okay, so the sunk cost fallacy gets us stuck in the past. The next couple of biases are just as sneaky, but they work by messing with the story we tell ourselves about the present. This is all about the incredible power of perspective. Okay, check out this amazing story. The Prophet's wife Aisha broke a dish of food sent over by another wife, right in front of guests. Now, that situation could have exploded. The normal way to see this? That's a huge public insult, right? But the Prophet instantly reframed it. He didn't see disrespect. He saw an expression of a very human emotion. By saying, "Your mother became jealous," he completely flipped the script. He changed the entire meaning of what happened, turning a moment of potential conflict into one of understanding. And that leads us right into something called the halo effect. This is when one single, really noticeable trait, either good or bad, creates a halo around a person. It's like it puts this good or bad filter over them, and it completely colors how we see everything else they do. If they're amazing at one thing, we just assume they're amazing at everything. If they have one major flaw, we see them as totally flawed. It's a mental shortcut that blinds us to how complex people really are. So what's the cure for this kind of lazy thinking? It's specificity. Notice how the Prophet didn't just label his companions as good people. He saw them and he honored their specific strengths. Abu Bakr for his mercy, Omar for his firmness, Uthman for his modesty. When we see people for their unique individual talents, we break that halo effect and we can actually appreciate them for who they really are. All right, next up, let's talk about a pair of biases that mess with how we process information. They trick our minds into thinking that what's recent and what's popular is way more important than what's actually true or relevant. The availability bias is actually super simple to understand. Our brains give way more importance to information that's recent or dramatic or just easy for us to remember. This is exactly why that employee who slacks off for 10 months but then goes into overdrive for the 2 months right before their performance review often gets a great rating. It's because that recent hard work is fresh and available in the manager's mind, and it overshadows everything else. The manager isn't really evaluating the whole year. They're evaluating what their brain can access most easily right now. And then you've got its cousin, social proof. This is that powerful gut instinct we all have that says, hey, if everyone's doing it, it must be the right thing to do. But this Quranic verse is a powerful warning against that exact feeling. It's a reminder that truth isn't determined by a popular vote. Blindly following the crowd, whether it's the latest trend or a hot investment, can so easily lead us astray if we don't ground our decisions in solid principles. Phew! Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here, digging into all the tricky ways our minds can mislead us. But the goal isn't just to spot these biases, it's to actually manage them. So let's bring it all together into a practical toolkit you can use for clearer thinking. So here it is, your mental toolkit, your cheat sheet. When you feel that contrast effect creeping in, consciously direct your comparison. To break free from the sunk cost fallacy, always focus on the future, not the past. Ask yourself, what's the best move from today? To handle framing and the halo effect, practice looking at people and situations from different angles and with specific details. And to fight back against availability bias and social proof, make your decisions based on solid principles and the whole picture, not just on what's new or popular. And that really brings us to the most important part. The first step, the biggest step, to managing any of these biases is just being aware that they exist. So here's my challenge to you. As you go about your week, just pay attention. Which of these mental shortcuts do you notice popping up the most in your own thinking? Because just noticing them, that's half the battle. That's the first giant step toward a clearer mind.